Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Bytes podcast. I am Ramon Mejia. This is episode number 110 of the Geek Bytes podcast, and I apparently forgot to sign into my thing, so I am signing into my thing so I can look at the thing that I just wrote for the show notes. But every single podcast we bring you the round of the week's best geek and tech news. We discuss that news, of course, anything else you're interested in. This week I am all alone, so it is not we. It is I alone. And that was my sound mixer just going crazy for some reason. My apologies. So this week on the podcast, I'll be talking about some great geek and tech news, including April Fool's news that came out yesterday, which is April the 1st. It is April the 2nd when I'm recording. So it's kind of a weird day to try to sift through April Fool's news, fake news, and then some real tech and geek news. I was very much unsure of what was real anymore on that day, but got it all sorted out. It has some very interesting and some funny April Fool's news, of course, including some stuff about Elon Musk and his plan to download your brain, Black Lightning television show, the Batgirl movie, the autonomous car vindication. But before we begin all that stuff, I want to give a quick shout out to a couple guys who have been very supportive of the podcasts, this one and the Lit RPG podcast, so much so that they even put down some hard-earned cash to say, here is some money to do the thing that you like to do. Michael Scott Earl and Daniel Schinhoffen. I can never say his last name right. But they both actually donated cash directly to our PayPal account, which you can find, of course, at litrpgpodcast/support. Or the geekbytespodcast.com/support has all the ways to support the podcast. And some people like to use our Patreon page because there's just a little bit every single month and helps support our regular recurring costs for the podcast. But in this case, these guys gave just a one-time donation. Michael Scott Earl gave $30 and Daniel gave a whopping $100. I know, I was pretty amazed too. So thank you very much, both of you guys, for just being great supporters. I just want to shout out to the world how amazing you guys are. Thank you. Okay, now we are going to begin our show though with, of course, geek news. Okay, and in geek news, of course, we're going to begin with our first story, the self-driving Uber car that was involved in last week's massive collision, so much so that the Uber car was actually flipped onto its side, has actually been vindicated from Tempe, Arizona. As soon as the collision occurred, Uber suspended all its autonomous testing in the western part of the United States, as they should have, until the report was finished about what actually happened. And according to the investigation by the Arizona Tempe police, it was the other guy's fault. The person who was a human driver in the other car apparently turned into the Uber vehicle, ignoring their right of way, basically. So the computer was following the rules. It was doing what it was supposed to, and here comes this horrible human who just ran into it. And so that's the end of it. Uber has, of course, put their testing fleet back on the roads in Arizona and in other parts of the United States. But it is kind of an interesting, result of the collision, and that it's of course the human's fault. So there you go. Also, in some interesting tech news, the New York Times has sources who say Amazon is considering opening a furniture and appliance store that would use virtual reality to show how customers how items would look in their homes. Amazon is also considering an electronics store similar to Apple's retail stores. So Amazon already has a few bookstores out in the real world, with just like their top sellers for people to look through. They also have a automated grocery system, but it's not going to be fully used for a couple months still, in which people can just go and grab the things and actually just leave, and they'll be automatically billed. That's still in its testing phase, and now they're moving into appliances and home electronics, and using VR. So it's kind of a cool trend that Amazon is going from virtual web-based services to a physical location for people to go through if they're interested. But I have to think that those margins are pretty slim. So I'm not sure how much money they're making, but apparently it's worth it. At least they see an opportunity there. So good for Amazon. I'd be extra happy if we get a discount as an Amazon Prime member. Okay. Also in some tech news, Elon Musk is backing a startup called Neuralink, which is exploring devices that can be implanted in the human brain to make them interface with artificial intelligence. Now, the idea is to create a high bandwidth direct connection between your computer and your brain. The company will focus initially on treatments for epilepsy, depression, and diseases that impede communication. There are tons of rumors going around about this company, especially considering Elon Musk has been very vocal about his concerns about artificial intelligence, comparing them to being demons summoned from the abyss, as in they may be mankind's downfall if true artificial intelligence are ever created. It's to me a completely valid concern as somebody who's essentially a futurist who's building the future. He can kind of see, and as can I, how things can go bad. And part of his stated solutions in the past publicly have been that, well, we augment human brains with computers so that we are not irrelevant to the future tech world. And of course, this is something explored in science fiction stories for decades, how humans and artificial intelligence are going to interact in the future if sentient machines should arise. But this is definitely, all that stuff is like 10s, 20, 30 years, 40, 50, whatever years down the road. This is kind of the first step along the path of creating a way for the human brain to interact with computer systems. And this is very research and development kind of phase stuff. So it's nothing we really have to worry about in the next 5, 10 years, but 15 years, 20 years, you could very well see this company or a very similar company create technology in which implants could be surgically put in the human brain, and you could kind of have like this matrix thing going on where you literally plug into the computer system. I think it's kind of cool. I'd be up for the surgery. Okay. In other tech news, we have the U.S. House of Representatives passing a resolution preventing new ISP privacy rules from the FCC from going into effect. This has been a really big tech story for this entire week, mostly because it's been framed as Congress passes law that allows your ISP to sell your data, and that's kind of correct, except that they were already able to do it. In this case, they can do so without consequences. Under the Obama administration, FCC rules were put into place that were going to prevent your internet service provider from collecting your data and selling it without your consent. Like, you had to basically opt into it. They might give you discounts, lower your bills, whatever the case is. But now they don't. They don't have to. They didn't have to previously, and they continue not doing that. If you think that your internet service provider isn't tracking your information and selling it to ad companies, you're probably mistaken. Now, the reasoning here is essentially that in Congress, their argument is that internet service providers are being handicapped by not being allowed to do this, not giving them the same level competitive field that Google and Apple and a bunch of other search engine providers have. Because Google collects your information. Anything you do search for it on their website, on their search engine, they collect and they turn those into ad figures, so they can create ads to sell you things. It's fine. I mean, that's kind of the thing you sign up for when you're using somebody's free product like a great search engine. You have to suffer through demands, and the data they collect is the thing. That's the price you're paying. But the amount of information that your internet service provider can collect is multiple amounts of in detail. Like, Google can only get information about the things you do searches for, or the services you use from them. They can kind of look through your email automatically. They can look through your search, history from their, services. But your internet service provider can see absolutely everything that you're doing on the internet. All those websites you look at, it doesn't matter what browser you're looking at. They collect that information. If you do BitTorrenting, if you're sending data within your network, all that stuff your service provider has access to. and the fact that they can track all that is a huge, in my opinion, invasion of privacy. So it's like they're looking into your house, as opposed to Google, kind of skimming over your the letters that you send through their postal service for free. That would be the comparison to me. So it's a huge thing, but there are ways to go around it. You can use a virtual private network or VPN. There are free ones out there, but I prefer the ones that personally you pay for if you want to keep some of your traffic semi secure or out of your internet service provider's grasps. But there are choices. But that's the thing you can look up. But that is the story. Okay. Into some entertainment news. Warner Brothers, who's busy negotiating with Joss Whedon to helm their upcoming standalone film for Batgirl. So Batgirl is going to be a movie that's already been decided. Now they're just shopping for a director because it's a big first step. According to Entertainment Weekly, the story of Barbara Gordon is going to be from the New 52 timeline, where Barbara Gordon is recovering from a spinal paralysis that had been inflicted on her by the Joker in The Killing Joke, which is an award-winning, Eisner Award-winning 1988 graphic novel. It's also an animated movie, if you want to go look for it on the internet. The DC made it into I'm not sure if it's a rated R movie, but it tells this particular story, The Killing Joke. And there's also an additional kind of sex scene between Batgirl and Batman in an earlier section of that film, which is not in the comic. But that's the storyline that they're going to go with. So if you're into that kind of stuff, this is kind of a cool storyline. And I'm curious to see how they're going to, rework it for an actual live action film. Okay. Also in some entertainment news, we have our first look at Black Lightning. This is a CW show with Chris Williams as the title character in a DC CW drama. It's currently being filmed in Atlanta, Georgia. This tells the story of a retired superhero who's getting older. He was, in his 20s. He was super popular. He's African-American superhero. But since then, he has retired to a family life and kind of the daily consequences of that, because he still has his powers. But what is he doing is he going to go back to the superhero thing? Is he going to be a leader in the community? Some very interesting concepts and storylines possible there. So I think it's a cool show. Looking forward to seeing more of it. Okay, we also have a look at... This one makes me laugh. There was I want to say it's like a 1990s, 2000 television show called Reboot. It was completely computer-generated effects, like these green people who lived in your computer, who fought off viruses and a bunch of things like that. It looked like a live-action PlayStation game, and it was super popular with people of my generation because it's that stuff in your computer, and they use computer words. And it kind of just told the story of like antivirus software, I guess, fighting viruses and corrupting influences within the computer system. It's very goofy looking back on it, but they're redoing that show, but they're making it as a live action show, apparently, with teens in Canada. So there you go. That's kind of the story. We have our first images of the cast of that show. 5 teenagers who are all very hungry, apparently, according to the pictures that they have there. So that's the thing. And that's the Black Lightning shot right there. If you're looking at our video version, I'm not sure if I remember to change it back to our images. Okay, so there you go. Additionally, in entertainment news, Gwyneth Paltrow will be reportedly reprising her role of Virginia Pepper Potts in Spider-Man Homecoming. We haven't seen her in the last few Avenger films. You sort of saw her. Yeah, actually, that's it. In any of the Civil War films, the Avengers films, last few, you didn't see Pepper Potts contract stuff. And so, but she's coming back for Spider-Man Homecoming. So if you're a Gwyneth Paltrow fan, there you go. I'm more of a Pepper Potts fan. Okay, also, that Jumanji movie, if you weren't aware, they're remaking the movie Jumanji, the one with Robin Williams, only there's a twist now. It's actually not just going to be a redo. It's going to be an entirely reimagining. So instead of being a board game, apparently it's going to be based on a video game. It's called Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. That's right. That's the actual title of the film. And if you've seen the screenshot of the main characters, it's going to be Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's going to be Jack Black, Karen Gillan, and one more person that I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But they're all very funny people. Okay, now here's the plot. According to, they were at a convention recently, I think it was CinemaCon 2017, and they kind of told the premise of the story, which nobody was really sure about. Okay, it starts with 4 high school kids going to detention. The punishment is to clean the basement of the school. But while spoilers, by the way, if you don't want to listen to this, skip ahead about 2 minutes. While they're down there, they found a very old-looking computer video game system. They turn it on, and each student, the nerd, the jock, the pretty girl, and the quiet girl, picks the character they want to play as. After they select it, they are sucked into the jungle. The nerd turns to be Dwayne Johnson. The jock is Kevin Hart. The quiet girl is Karen Gillan, and the pretty girl is Jack Black, because that's the last character that is left. Now, of course, they realize that they are in a video game. They each have video game powers. Dwayne, the Rock's character is super strong. Gillan's character is a dance fighter. Let's see, and of course, they all have their own powers. They have to go through challenges, bunch of video game kind of stuff. Of course, they also have 3 lives. But if they lose their lives, they die for reals, apparently. So that's the premise of the story. It feels like a pretty decent twist on a concept about a board game coming to life, basically. So this is kind of them being sucked into the video game, which very much kind of lights up my little RPG, brain, and that's what a lot of the stories that I talk about and write about are about. So it's kind of cool for me. So there you go. But that's kind of a cool concept. Now, in Venom news, if you weren't aware, Sony is making a Venom movie. That's right. They're finally making a standalone Venom movie about a killer symbiote who murders people and eats them. It is going to be a rated R movie, apparently, according to recent information from Sony. It is not going to be a Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it's not going to be set in the same universe that Spider-Man Homecoming is, because that Spider-Man is set in the Marvel Universe, which was why he's interacting with Iron Man and the Avengers. So this Venom story is going to be set as just in a standalone Spider-Man universe in an alternate plane of existence or something. Doesn't really matter. Sony is jumping on the rated R bandwagon for superhero films after Deadpool made a ton of money, after Wolverine, after Logan made a ton more money. This is not a huge surprise. I'm surprised they waited this long, to be honest. And Venom is definitely the rated R story that they have. Remember that Sony has has the Spider-Man universe. They purchased it. So they make all the Spider-Man movies. And within that wheelhouse, they have some very cool characters, including Venom, Carnage. You could do any of those villain movies from the Spider-Man universe. Sony's finally decided, we're going to make our own Marvel-esque universe using the characters we own. And so this is the beginning of that project. They're also planning to make movies for Black Cat and the Canary. So they're all cool things. But Venom is definitely one that I'm personally looking forward to seeing. Okay, also, speaking of, I'm not really looking forward to it, but it is kind of cool. They're redoing another Lara Croft movie using the most recent version of that video game character, in which they take her back to her origins, the Lara Croft origins, which is a very young woman who can't be played by Angelina Jolie anymore. So the lady who's playing her, the young lady called Alicia Vikander, and maybe she's Swedish, Norwegian, I don't know, but screenshots from the set have leaked on the internet, and she looks very much like the video game character. We in the video version of the podcast, we have a screen-by-screen shot, and of course, they look almost identical. So good on them, including having a second belt for some reason that doesn't hold up her pants. So there you go. Okay, also in some great entertainment news, yesterday on April the 1st, the Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, did an amazing, it made my heart happy. Rick and Morty is coming back this year for season 3, and as an April Fool's gift, they streamed the entire first episode for free over the internet. It was there for one day and one day only, so if you missed it, sorry, it's kind of cool though. So that was a great thing, and I really love seeing it. So awesome. I think that was just kind of cool. Now, in some April Fool's stories, again, April 1st is April Fool's Day in the United States, and jokes galore. You can't believe anything you read on the internet on that day, basically. I mean, you should, not really believe anything on the internet you read anyways, but especially on April's 1st. And here are some of the funny stories that came out. From the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, he tweeted out that Michael Rosenberg and Sylvester Stallone are playing the Silver Surfer and Galactus in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, much of the internet wasn't sure whether this was true because these rumors had been happening. Both those characters are actually in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Nobody knows what their characters are, though. And so the fact that the director tweeted this out, half of the internet bought it. And they kept bothering him until he admitted that was just an April Fool's joke. Additionally, the director of, I should say Sony, or Zac Efron in this case, tweeted out that he was going to be playing Venom in that Sony picture we just talked about. Also not true, but still funny. Paul Feige, the director of the rebooted Ghostbusters, the all-female Ghostbusters, tweeted out, "It's official, I'm rebooting Back to the Future with an amazing all-female cast." And half the internet believed him and yelled at him. Although I don't think that that's a horrible idea, in my opinion. Marty McFly can be hot. It's fine. There is also, if you want to go look it up, I'm not going to put up videos about it. There is a porn version of Back to the Future with a female main character. So I'm just letting you know. Okay. Also, Netflix got in on the joke. They had a one day only, well, not actually one day, but at a one day only special called Netflix Live. It was hosted by Will Arnett. It was 50 minutes. And it was him commenting on the most mundane things in an office ever: a copy machine, a toaster, people playing Thumbs Wars. It was absolutely mind-numbingly tedious and boring, but that was kind of the joke. So it was very much a thing to watch just for the inside joke kind of thing. And you could actually, it was very fall asleep to. Like, you put it in the background and you just like doze out to Will Arnett commenting on a live office copy machine. So there you go. Also, one of the last funny things that I saw on the internet, I'm sure there are plenty of other things, but Bruce Campbell also tweeted a picture saying that he just had some very fun casting news. And it's a picture of him dressed up as Cable from Deadpool 2. So it was, of course, intimated that he was cast as Cable in Deadpool 2. So very funny. I don't think it's a bad idea, to be honest. He could be a very funny Cable, in my opinion. Okay, and that's it for our news, folks. That's it. Done. Finito. We have a movie trailer showdown, which is going to be 4 movies. 4 movies enter. 1 movie leaves as the winner. The 4 trailers that came out this week that I thought were absolutely amazing: The Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. We also have War for the Planet of the Apes. And It, that Stephen King novel that they're remaking as a remake in that movie. And Spider-Man Homecoming. So those 4 are the best trailers that came out this week, in my opinion. And the winner is It. This is a super creepy as hell trailer. If you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, then I'm sorry. But it is really quite creepy. If you ever watched the original It trailer movie, you know that it's one of the creepiest films ever made. And this one matches it, if it doesn't exceed it at least a little bit. So I encourage you to watch a trailer if you're into being creeped out by creepy clowns. But that is it. I mean, the other trailers were really cool too. Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, it kind of spoiled the movie, so I don't recommend that you actually watch it. It was not a bad trailer, but it just kind of spoiled the whole plot of the upcoming movie. Like, it kind of shows the villain, it shows why he's there, what Spider-Man's beef with Iron Man is, the costumes, and if you watch it, you're kind of like, oh, so that's the plot of the movie. No, I don't have to watch it, which is kind of sad because it took a little bit of the mystery out of the film to me. Everything else was, of course, really cool, but that was definitely my favorite. It was just the most surprising to me. I was surprised at exactly how creepy, how creeped out I was from the trailer. And Spider-Man Homecoming was the close second. So that's it. We're done. That's the show. That's right, folks. It's a very short show when I'm by myself. And of course, if you like the podcast, you can find all the ways to support us at geekbytespodcast.com/support. But thanks for listening and watching, ladies and gentlemen. Now, until I can hang out with you again and talk about all the great geeky stuff that I love, remember to go geek out about something.